Hi everyone, I'm back and I have another project to share. I have been working on this fabric book for a couple weeks, and so I got it finished and I thought I would share it with you. So this is what I came up with, and this book is, I started out, it's a 7 by 7 square. So of course, when you start adding laces and things, it's going to grow. So it's grown a little bit in size, but it's not too awfully big. And I have hand sewn this book together. So I haven't done that in a long, long time. I think the very first book I ever made, I hand sewed, and after that I started gluing them. Well, I just decided I wanted to go back to hand sewing for this one. I'm not going to say I'm going to do that for all of my books, but because it does take a lot of time when you're hand sewing, and some of it is a little bit hard to do when you're hand sewing. It's almost impossible to reach some areas. You can't bend the book and get the needle in. And so, for instance, I did not hand sew these flowers on the front because it was just too hard to bend the cover of the book and get it in there. So what I did was I cheated and I did use a little bit of glue here on the flowers. They are not glued to the book, but they are all glued onto one piece of fabric, and then I stitched the piece of fabric to the book. So if you were to clip the threads, the flowers and the feathers would all come off as one large piece. I can't imagine why anybody would ever do that, but just so that you know, because this book is going to be for sale. So just so that whoever buys it will know that I did use a little bit of glue when it came to the flowers. And I also used glue to put the bling into the center there. So, but that was about it. I think everything else is hand sewn. So the flowers, let me tell you about those. This one and this one are made from the same fabric, and it almost looks like they're a little green, but they're not. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous brown color. It's just poor lighting in my room, but it's gorgeous. And it has little fuzzy spots on this fabric like a velvet. So it's got a little velvet spot there, and then up there, and then this little one's got a couple of spots too. And I got this fabric from the Gypsy kit that I got from Virginia. Hi, Virginia. And so I used just a little bit of it to make these flowers. And then I've got a couple of chiffon roses, and then one rolled rose out of some kind of like a crepe fabric there. And then I have a piece of bling here, and that a pretty gorgeous piece of bling. I got that from my friend Sherry. Hi, Sherry. And then the little petals in the back, I'm not sure where I got those from. I just opened my drawer and there they were, and they fit on this book. So I'm just glad I had them because they were a good match. And then I added some bridle pieces, one here, one over here. And then this little piece in the corner was part of some lace that I have, and it's all sequins. Isn't that gorgeous? It is so, so pretty. And then I've just added a pearl there and a few feathers. I have this chocolate brown velvet fabric that I've just kind of run between some of the flowers here. That's the same velvet fabric that you see here, and that's also covering the entire book. So it's done in this beautiful, gorgeous chocolate brown color. And then I just went around the edges with a beautiful lace. I've got a sequined flower in that corner. And across the bottom, this is a wired ribbon that I just gathered. You leave it on the wire and just gather it, and it creates a really pretty trim that I use there. And then I've got lots of dangling fringe and beads and things hanging there. And then I added a few little dangles off of this bridal piece there. And then underneath all of these flowers is this beautiful yoke piece, and you'll see it here, and it's hanging off the corner and then runs up the side. And then on top of that, I've added another little pretty applique piece. It's this dark cream color right here. And I've almost covered it up entirely. You can see a little bit of it there, and I think you could see a little bit right there underneath the flowers. Um, and then I went around her name with a little bit of gold trim. And I didn't even point out that the name on the book is Aida Overton Walker, and she was a burlesque entertainer back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And she actually died as a young woman, so she didn't get to be an old gray-haired lady. But so anyway, I have used one of Ada's pictures in one of my other fabric books, and at the time I didn't know her name, so I just did some research and found out who she was, and then I could search by her name, and I found a few more of her pictures. So that's all that's in this book is just pictures of Ada. And then I believe that is it. So we can go on to the first page. And this is Ada, and I believe it is that same picture that I used in one of my fabric books. And so across the top, there's this beautiful gold applique, and then behind it, I have some little snippet pieces of bridal appliques back there. And then I took some lace that I already had, and I cut it apart and created this little embellishment here. And behind it, there's layers of different colors of tulle back there. And then I have a little beaded flower there and a little feather and some pretty little bling there. And then I've got 3 different kinds of lace, or shades, different colors of lace there. And then I went around her picture with a little beading and a little bit of lace there. I have these flowers that I got from a lady's blouse, and they're just beautiful. I love those. And then this gorgeous fabric here came from a lady's evening gown. And one of my girlfriends, we were together shopping at the thrift store, and we came across that dress. And so we cut it in half. So half went home with her, and I got part of it. So then at the bottom, I've got some more bridal applique on the side here, and then it runs underneath this ruffle, this pretty cream or tan, light tan colored ruffle. Then I've got some beading hanging off the bottom, and then there's some fringe, and then there's lace under there. So that's it for the first page. Then the next page, another image of Ada, and she has around this image I used another yoke piece that had flowers on it, and I cut them off and used them to go around her picture. And then I've created another chiffon rose there, and I've added a few little ribbon roses and then a few little leaves with beads, 2 different kinds of leaves there with beads on them. And then I went around underneath those flowers with another layer of lace, and then there's tulle behind that. And then I've got a beautiful applique piece here that has some dangling pearls, and then flowers that match that piece that have sequins and beads in the center of those. And then this little swirly looking brown piece was in one of the grab bags that I got on eBay, and so was this piece that's right here. That's also from my grab bags. And then I've got layers of lace. There's a small lace here, and then another here, and another here, and then another, and then another. And then there's a couple of laces at the very bottom. And then I've got this beautiful dangling lace piece here that has the beadwork on it right there. So I believe that is it for that page. So the next 2 pages I decided to do with a pop of color. So I have, I got this kind of an aqua blue piece of fabric right here behind this feather. I got it from my friend Sherry, and I used it. She gave me quite a bit, but I used most of it for this little handbag that I made, and I will leave a link below if you haven't seen that video and you're interested in seeing the little handbag. but I'm almost out of it. I have one little small piece left of this beautiful beaded piece back there. And then I've added the feathers on top of it, and I've also got a little acrylic flower here. And then this sequin, this blue sequin that you see running down the side here, was also in the grab bags that I got on eBay. It just reminds me of like a stained glass window. And then I've got a little bit of a rhinestone trim going down the edge of it. And then I've just went around the page with different laces and appliques, and then there's a pretty little applique flower there, and some dangling lace across the bottom. And then in the center of the book, I had this silver ribbon, and it has the silver threading on both sides and then all through the middle. And so I added on top of it the blue and the white rice beads, and there's smaller blue beads in there also that I put on there just so I could tie the pages together. And then on this page here, this fabric was from LA, and it came with the embroidered leaves and all of the beadwork and these little cluster of flowers here. And so the only part I added was these little petals right here with the ribbon roses in the center. And so I guess the last thing to point out is the beadwork that's going across the top there, and then it goes down the side and all across the bottom on both pages. So that is the two pages inside. There are no pocket pages in this book. I didn't want to do any pocket pages, so it's just all, it's just going to be pictures or a decorated page. And so the next page again is of Aida. And I went back to the creams and browns on this page. And so I've got some applique pieces here that I coffee dyed. And then across the top, there's a couple of light gold applique pieces. And then some flower appliques that I've coffee dyed. And then I've inserted tulle behind each one to give the page some fluff on that side. And then a little cluster of flowers there. This one has, it's made out of a really soft brown velvet fabric, and then it has a sheer fabric in the center. And then this one is made out of the same crepe type fabric that I made the rolled rose out of, that's on the cover. And then I just added a little bit of lace in the center. And then this one is kind of like a tulle, but it's softer. It's a really soft tulle type fabric. And then in the very center, it has some little petals that I cut off of some fabric and put in there, and then added the bling to that. And then there's a little bit of beading right there on some tulle. And then it has a beautiful applique piece here, and it has 3 beads hanging from the bottom, and then it has a couple of leaves that are tucked on the side there. So that's that page. So the last page, I decided to make a dress, and I wanted so bad to try and mimic her dress, but I could not find any polka dot fabric that I liked that I wanted to use for this book. And so I went ahead and went with this beautiful brown fabric, and it's a velvet fabric also, and it's so soft. It's much softer than the velvet that's on the outside of the book. And this velvet fabric is the same fabric that I've used on this flower right here. And so I went around this page with just different applique pieces that have been coffee dyed, and then across the bottom I've added some dangling lace, and I've stitched these pearls onto the tips of all of those. And then I've added this cluster of beads here, and one is a large pearl teardrop, and then 2 of them are tulips, and then the others are teardrops. And so back to the little dress, what I did was I just added a little ruching around the waist there, and then put a couple of, put the sleeves on, of course, and then I added a little bit of lace at the bottom of each of the sleeves and around the yoke of the dress. And so the top part of the dress is made from a lace that has the kind of gold flowers that are embroidered in it. And you can see across the top, it's a scalloped across the top edge of the lace is the top of the dress there. And then I also use that same lace in the back for the back of the dress. And then there's some tiny little beads that are going all around the top of the dress. And then I cut out some of the, just some embroidered flowers to use as embellishment on her dress. And so also at the bottom, I've got a little bit of lace that runs around the bottom. And to make this dress, I put it on a piece of chipboard that I cut out in the shape of an hourglass. And it's not very big. It only goes down to about right there, and then it stops about right at the top. And so it was real easy, just cut out the chipboard and then just build the dress onto the chipboard. So it wasn't hard to do at all. And so I guess the last thing to show you on this book is the edge here, where I just added a little bit of beading across the edge along with the tassels, and that is it. So that is my Aida Overton Walker book, and so I hope you enjoyed seeing what I made. I just love all these dangles. It's so pretty. But yeah, so that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and hopefully I'll be back soon with another project to show you. So take care, everybody. Bye.